Man, it was sure amazing to do that with you again. Just
Oh,
to climb that with you.
that memories. I remember when you slipped on Hillary's step and I caught you. That was just like, one of those bonding moments as friends we'll never forget. As you,
Okay, what percentage of chance, Steve Cockram, would you want like to climb Mount Everest or any mountain over 8,000 meters?
I mean, I think there's a difference between would I like the idea of it and am I prepared to put my body through what would be required on the grounds that I usually twist my ankle on the average sort of ramble of a family. So the thought of being stuck above base camp, where if I twist my ankle, there's only way back is like an air ambulance. I don't think it's likely, Jez. I don't want to be I'm not sure it's a limiting belief. Well, it's certainly a limiting belief. Whether it's a true prohibition, I don't know. So I think it's very unlikely I will ever climb a mountain of that magnitude in my life. But I'm happy. I mean, I've done it once. I mean, that's where we got the video footage from. So I don't know what your problem is.
For me, it's the same way. I love the idea of being at base camp and climbing to base camp at Mount Everest.
Yeah.
But I don't have any desire to go to Camp 4 after all this research and study we've done on Mount Everest, after the 100X Leader book. If any of you haven't read yet the 100X Leader book, we talk all about Mount Everest and all of the Sherpa we've interviewed and the climbers we've interviewed and talked to. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
We do have Eddie Backler, who was at he did our first kind of event we did back at Heads all these years ago. Eddie has climbed Kilimanjaro. That's like, and then turns out he's very quiet, very wise is our Eddie. We call him the sage. And he's telling stories, isn't he? You remember that story he told about when the Sherpas put the hot coals in their hand and they're blowing on it to provide warmth for so yeah. Eddie's still Eddie. It's amazing. I love that, man.
Well, good to see you, my friend. You ready for the live stream?
Always. You look like you've been recording already today. Is that the film studio behind you?
Yeah, that's the film studio. Yeah, we've had just some small little vignettes and such. But no, it's so good to be with you all. And for all of you listening, Steve's in London. I'm here in Oklahoma City in our studios. And we are so privileged to be with you. Last time we talked about 2020 and what 2020 was like. This time, we're going to talk about 2021. And in fact, by the way, there's a lot of vaccines that have been rolling out in your neck of the woods. And we were just talking this morning about how the change in mindset and attitude, if they work and if it all goes as planned, there's probably a big shift on the horizon as we look to 2021. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're in that odd moment at the moment over here that kind of people are thrilled there's a vaccine, but Easter seems a long way away. And I think trying to keep the thing locked down, and I just think there's a weariness to it, and most people are just like, oh, for goodness sake, can we go back to some normality? And Christmas is one of those times where it's a bit like Thanksgiving for you lot, in the sense that everyone does Thanksgiving. Can you imagine being told, by the way, this year, America, you're not allowed in anyone's home for Thanksgiving. It's just you on your own with your nuclear family. How do you think that would go down in the average America, that Thanksgiving was cancelled this year? You can do it online. I just don't think there'll be an awful lot of obedience to that particular fact. So over here, what they've said is you can have 3 families in a bubble. You can't see anyone else, and you can do that for 5 days. So that's it. So you're either in a bubble with someone or not. So that's the best they've given us, Jez. I can't imagine America doing that. That's for sure.
It's going to get really awkward for that family of 4, like 4 extended families, and only 3 can come. They're going to be rock, paper, scissors. Sorry, Margaret. Sorry, Margaret, you can't come to Christmas.
Yeah, one of our really good mutual friends sold it because they had 4 family bubbles. So they decided they would go to Barbados as 4 families because actually it was legal to do that. So Helen looked at me and went, well, why haven't we done that? Good question, darling. Good question, but probably not this year. So glad we didn't book the there's some sort of Canary Islands, which a lot of our folk go to, and they've just been put on the watch list as well. So whoever comes back from there has got to be quarantined. So yeah, no, I'm hoping. I don't know about you. I mean, re-engaging travel in 2021 will be a really interesting moment. You go, when do you start booking travel? I'm trying to think, when's the first time I'm going to come to America? Because obviously you built a whole guest house for me, and I've still not even cut the ribbon on the Cockram wing of your house yet.
There's two parts. International travel is one.
Yeah.
Just domestic travel. Domestic travel is amazing. So I'm flying to Florida next week twice. I'll fly. I have 2 trips to Florida in the next 10 days, and so it's great because there's no one there. Very few people, and you've got lots of room and spread out. So anyway,
is this because you're flying on Giant One now, or is that just?
Oh, I didn't tell you about that, but we had a jet this last year.
I saw it go through his expenses last month, and I'm like, what's this Giant One with Kubicek in brackets? And I'm like, obviously, there we go.
There's a lot that goes on that you just don't know about.
It's on a need to know, and I don't need to know. That's what I know. Yeah,
well, hey, for today, friends, we want to talk to you about 2021 and ways that you can actually unlock the potential of people when everyone is still locked up. So how do you unlock the potential of people when there's still a lockdown?
Yeah.
The idea is we want to show you some examples of how people are doing it and what we're doing with people, what others are doing. And if you haven't considered using technology, luckily we got into the technology business a few years ago, and we've been able to position ourselves in a way that we can really help people, especially in the remote era, 21st century era. In this, are we going back to the office? Are we not? How do we do this? So we've been working very diligently on this. And so what we want to do is just kind of talk about ways that you can leverage us, Giant, to help unlock people this year and be very intentional versus accidental. Anything to add to that, Steve, as I pull this up?
No, I think I'll show afterwards, but I'll show a little screen of going. In many ways, what you and I started with 7 and a bit years ago, that's saying these will be the challenges of leading in the new world. And if only to show it, because it showed how clever we were to actually realize that some of the things that people were questioning when we asked for data about how do I lead in a world that was digitally connected but geographically dispersed. And a lot of people at the time would go, well, is that really going to be a big issue in the digital world? Well, COVID made it so. And I think, as you'll show in a moment, that's one of those biggest things, I think, for unlocking people and teams. Some of those, I want to talk about both those. So do whatever you got first. Come on, wow me.
Yeah, well, so here's the Giant platform for all of those. Obviously, if you're watching this either on Facebook or somewhere, some of you have gone to it and some of you haven't. If you wanted to, you can just simply go to, oh, look at that. There we are, Steve, running a live stream. But you can go to Ascend, and can you see this okay, Steve? Just making sure that.
Okay.
So you can take your voice. You can do the 5 voices test. You can watch series. There's pathways from diversity to transitions to things on family. There's resources. There's live streams that are ongoing on a regular basis. All of that is available for free. It's just simply giant.tv. And so you can sign up there. It's very easy in that regard. But for those of you who go, I want to invest in people, that's just content. Okay, that'd be like watching Netflix or what have you. What we've done is we've created something called the Invincible operating system. And Invincible is basically your place for unlocking intentionally your teams, building your people, having an operating system for people development. And so what we've done is we've just kind of highlighted what that is. This is a simple little overview. I'm not going to get through all of it. I'm going to show you one flow chart here if I can get. Did I pass it? Apologies. I might have. Basically, the operating system is a system for doing that, unlocking people. Goodness, I have to scroll. 2 seconds. What we've done is we basically created an assessment and assessments, a toolkit, and the process. And I'm going to walk you through what each one of those are. The assessment is basically your ability to know where your team is. So imagine having the ability to take like a team 360. It's called the Invincible assessment. And it's for your team. So it's around communication and relationships, alignment, execution, and capacity. And you'll be able to track where you are. And not only that, you'll be able to, with your team of people, you'll be able to have your teams laid out. You have people, you have teams. You can then look and see as they're taking tests throughout the year what their average is, what happened last quarter, what happened last year. So that's the assessment. The toolkit is the toolkit. It's having all tools available. If you go, you know what, we want to do the support challenge matrix, we can very easily get into the support challenge matrix to teach it, to understand the context, and to add that into our team. And then the process is the process that we're talking about. It's weekly, how you do training. It's monthly leader coaching, which I'll show you here in just a bit. It's having team exercises for your team. It's having quarterly assessments. It's looking at an annual review system. And then there's boot camps and kickstarts and all types of things that you can do with your team, whether you work for a consultant or with a consultant or whether you work on your own. So I bring that up to you to go, those are opportunities that people can use to get very, very intentional in managing your people and understanding who you are, understanding who your people are, and then having a people training program for the year. Steve, what would you add to that?
I think having shared it now and used it a number of times, is I don't think anyone's really cracked. I think we had an exercise, didn't we, as team, looking at what software had disrupted industries, and that nobody really had managed to create the app almost that everybody used in a particular way. So I think that the thing about Invincible is it finally is the resource that every team leader can use every day. So how do I lead people well? I mean, our experience is most people don't set out when they get promoted to go, I really hope I suck as a team leader. I mean, I really want to make it miserable for every person who reports to me. I really hope I mess up a few people's careers over the next few years. Nobody starts with that intent, but the reality is nobody really ever gives team leaders tools to actually develop as team leaders, let alone more, or if they do, they send them off on a course for a day and then hope that will make the difference. So what this is really the companion to team leaders, so that actually every day, and love the bit you're going to show in a moment about the leader coaching, to think about, if I'm going to be a great team leader, what do I need to know about myself? What do I need to know about each individual member of my team? How can we get real data that actually says, how are we doing? What are we going to grow in? How can I make my one-to-ones really productive? How can I remember what they are? And how can we as a team own really our own development and growth and make the contribution that we do? So I think we're very, very close. And I think that's why you and I are quite excited about 2021, that Invincible is such a great title. Everyone wants to be in a team that wins every time. Invincible teams never lose. So how do you create an operating system which is more than a one and done, where actually every team leader in the world actually has access to what they need to be the best team leader they can be? And we've shared before that however big your organization is, doesn't matter if you have one team, or doesn't matter if you have 10,000 teams around the world. Every organization in the new agile collaborative world is really a team of teams, and that actually the fundamental unit of performance is the high performing team. So the fact we can now work as we are with, we'll show a bit later, with organizations with tens of thousands of people, employees, all the way down to one team, Invincible is that scalable solution so that every team leader actually has what they need to win if they want to. And we've never had that before. We might have thought we did in the beginning, but the reality is when we've got software with a method, it doesn't half make a difference. So that's a Brit selling something, Jez, so forgive me.
No, well, the beauty is we've also, because of this technology, we've been able to price it at such an affordable rate. When you have certain teams are like, what? That's all per month? So you have certain rates that we can, because of technology, we can scale. And that's the opportunity. I want to show what I'm excited about that's about to happen is leader coaching. So the idea is that a team leader has employees, and the team leader could do coaching sessions, or you could be a coach or consultant, which we'll get to here in a minute. Mm-hmm. The idea is that what we're creating is we're creating a dashboard for anyone to be able to, let's say this is the consultant, or this is the team leader, and this is the person down here. So Kevin is working with Bronson and having a coaching session. To be able to take notes and keep track of those notes and have session notes every single time so you can come back to it. To have a check-in where you can go and look at the peace index. You could do it every time, every other once a quarter, twice a year, but you can keep track of where you were in your peace index, in your 70-30. You can look at your challenges. What are the challenges you're dealing with right now? Where were you last time? There's performance and engagement that we're about to put into the system. So there's a number of different things that we're doing, but what it's done is it's basically a dashboard for a team leader to be able to be consistent with their people.
Wow.
And that is a significant upgrade for what most people have. So again, if you're a team leader, imagine using it. If you're a coach or consultant, imagine having access to this, again, which we'll get into. Any thoughts on that, Steve?
I'm thinking how fantastic it's going to be for me to use on the ground. I don't know about you, but trying to remember exactly what we did last time with each person, let alone having a two-way interaction. I mean, we often say, don't we, that kind of, in the 100X leader book, we talk about this, the 3 questions you have to ask at the beginning of each week for the people you lead is, am I prepared to fight for their highest possible good? Well, if the answer is yes, the 3 questions are, well, what are the tendencies, and do they need more support or challenge from me right now? Is a good question. What's the pattern or tendency that's undermining their influence right now? And how do I help them get to the next level? I'm thinking of going, imagine if with the people I'm in my team or the people we're leading and coaching, actually, we can actually ask those questions and actually put that in as a two-way dialogue as we relate, particularly recognizing that most teams at the moment in COVID are remote. We don't get to sit down together, actually being able to use digital. And then I think another one of those trends that basically face-to-face will become a premium, but actually having a model where it doesn't matter where my team are. One of the tech companies we're working with at the moment, they're saying, some teams only come together for a bid on a project and maybe work for 6 months and then move on. And they're going, well, the fact that basically whenever you set up a new team on Invincible, you can begin that process of knowing what are they working on, how can you help them. It's really, it doesn't make people great team leaders who are lazy and are checked out. But what I tell you what it does do is for those of us that really want to get better at doing it and to really learn how to be liberating leaders to those we lead, this is going to be invaluable because, obviously it will be GDPR compliant for those of you of a guardian nature. Data will be protected, but effectively it means you will have the ability to store the coaching notes that you're using with individuals. And I think that's going to be, for me anyway, I can't wait to get started, because when you get to 50, Jeremy, I know you've not got there yet, but eventually you begin to forget things, and there's only so many sticky notes, Evernotes. Actually having it, I come in, Jeremie Kubicek, and it actually tells me what I did with you last week. That will just be invaluable.
I showed a couple of our current giant consultants, and one of them almost started tearing up. Wow. Because she coaches like 30 people, and it's the stress and pressure, and which then brings us to another element for 2021. If you are let's just say if you're a consultant or a coach, and you go, you know what, I've always heard about Giant, but what we do is we certify people and we partner with people. We basically give them the tools that they need to actually get to the next level. So yeah, you can see giantworldwide.com/accelerate gives you the details of what we do. I'm going to show you what the actual community kind of looks like and that world looks like. What we've done is we basically have created a platform for certification. And the certification is not like $5,000 for a certification. It's basically a monthly partnership, and it's at a low price depending on where you're at. We have guides and we have consultants. A guide is someone who's part-time. They might be working as a realtor, they're working at a church, they're working in some other thing, and they're doing Giant. Or you might be a consultant and it's full-time, and you're going, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, and I work in the people space, in the HR space, or in the business building space, counselors, there's a number of different professions. But you can see over here, we have 5 Voices certification. So if you go through the 5 Voices certification as an example, it will pull up and go, this is what you need to do this week. And you need to review the objectives. You watch the mindset video. You do discover your leadership voice. Here's what has to happen. Now, you're getting certified in this. You can go at your own pace, but you can see over here on the side, Talisha, 5 Voices, number 3, understanding how to respond to each voice and appreciating the value. She had an assignment. Michael, 100X Leader, Session 1, interactive teams replace the hierarchy. No one can be good at everything. Liberated and effective teams define success because they allow the project to move forward in the fastest and best manner. So Michael's sharing his aha and his learning of all the certifications. And right now we have the guide, orientation, 5 Voices, 100X, Sherpa coaching. We're about to add some other, the Invincible operating system certification and so forth. So those are all opportunities. But what we're looking for is people who want to leverage technology and content, and they want to build something, or they want to add some tools, the 5 Voices, they want to add the Giant tools and the platform and the Giant TV platform into their world. And so if you're a coach or a consultant, check it out at giantworldwide.com/accelerate. Or Tracy, if you'd put up Justin's email, justin@giantworldwide.com for more information. And Justin would be glad to have a conversation with you if you're interested in that.
And I mean, there's so many people being entrepreneurs in the digital world, and COVID has forced some of that. And I think that one of the other things that being a guide or a consultant does is there's a whole community of people who are going after the same things. A lot of things we find is, people on their own as a coach consultant can often get a bit lonely. Yep. And fundamentally, having a tribe you can belong to without being owned by is a big win for people. And I think the other thing I'd say is to go, every organization in the old days used to probably buy some training or they buy some coaching. I think the new world where the platform is such a key component, because every organization we work with now is going, this is great, we love you. But when they say, how do we take this to the whole organization? It's one of those big barriers. And I do believe it's, talking to the different coaches and consultants over here, and I know you have them over there. What they love about Giant is the fact that basically Giant creates a scalable solution where actually there's a way in which they can multiply what Giant is doing across the whole organization, and they don't need lots and lots of people to do it with them. In fact, they can work with the senior team, they can work, but effectively having internal catalysts, I think you'll probably talk about that in a moment, but there is a scalability piece. So if you're a coach consultant, this is really saying there's things you can add to what you're already doing. I think that's what I love is Giant is a software with a method, but it also is a community where there's some phenomenal tools. Because if we did one thing well, Jez, 7 years ago, we're going to boast, is realizing that actually the new world, we codified wisdom using visual tools. And in the end, that's still, I believe, the secret sauce of what Giant is we've codified a way of engaging and doing leader development and team development for a world where people have gotten much less time than they used to have, and they've got to be able to do it on the go around their schedule. So there we go.
And Andy, to answer your question, yes. Can you combine the consulting materials? Absolutely. We have a lot of people who use EOS. What they've found is the Giant's people system is really strong, and it works really well inside an EOS platform. Or if there's other people who do other types of resources or tools or leadership, culture, engagement surveys, blah, blah, blah. It works perfect with other things. It plays well with others. So yes. Steve, we got about 5 minutes left before we have to run. So you were going to walk us through one thing that you're excited about with, a lot of big companies.
I think that one of the things we're doing at the moment is that basically as bigger companies are looking at what is our space strategy for when we come back. So everyone's really aware. We're not going to go back into offices in the way we did, but conversely, we're not going to stay at home permanently because people need a social interaction. But I think it's this understanding that the future of work is something that a lot of organizations, a lot of people have been doing a lot of research on. You'll find a lot out there. But one of the things that is absolutely universal with every client we've worked with, when they go, what is the future of work? However you're going to use space, the thing that has become The most important thing really is to go, how do we help people build teams in a virtual world? Because in some ways, leading a team, even when you were in the same office, doing the same tasks and could have water cooler moments or go out for coffee, that still presented challenges to being a good team leader. I'm watching a lot of people ask the question, and the reason why Giant is growing so much is they're going, we are now having to lead teams where we might go into the office ourselves a couple of days a week for a social, whatever it might be. But a lot of our teams are working from home or they're working in different parts of the world. So I think that's one of those things, looking at 2021, it's not just team is now the most important unit of performance. There used to be a time when you recruited the most clever person, regardless of how they fitted in the team, and hoped to sell their IQ for a certain amount per hour. The age of team we're in it now. No one's even arguing with us. But the evolution to go, what does remote, digital, technology-led team leadership look like? And I would say that's one of those things, Jez, that's a big felt need. And organizations are beginning to ask the question, which is, in the old days, it was like, well, we had a certain bit for each person in the budget. The scalability of Invincible has made it affordable. So we talk now about leaders of self, leaders of teams, leaders of leaders, and leaders of business as almost those four different segmentations, really. I know there are blurred edges, and some of you may be small and not have all of them, but learning how to develop a leadership team strategy. How are you going to grow Invincible leaders, and what actually can you do with each level is another one of those ones that I think it's good for you to think about if you're leading organizations. Do you have a strategy for each level, recognizing that actually everyone gets access to the base level now, which is the technology solution, so the common vocabulary language, and Invincible means we can look at the data for every team and organization. So if you want to have a think of something over Christmas and reflect in the new year, if you are leading organizations and leading teams, learning how to lead in the remote digital world and how you skill yourself for that and how you skill your people, I think that's going to be one of the biggest felt needs as we head into the new year.
And so we've created a role, a title called a catalyst. And a catalyst is someone that works inside an organization to implement the Invincible operating system. If you're a small company, you might have one catalyst. If you're a large company, like we work with a number of very large organizations, they might have hundreds of catalysts. It just depends on the size. But what that does is the catalyst is responsible for implementation, they're for engagement, they're responsible for helping the team leaders, helping them set up the coaching. So we have a certification process that we're building right now that will be ready in 2021. And that allows the catalyst to get trained on a system. With everything, a process and a system just holds it accountable. But it's not designed just to be something you check the box. This is actually a lifestyle. You're learning, how do you lead people? How do you use visuals? How do you create common language? How do you create a system for people to get better? And that's what I love about our culture and our work. So with that, we hope for 2021 that you would engage with unlocking the potential of people. That idea is a big idea. How do I unlock people who might have been stressed out, locked down? So we're coming back and we're resetting how we work. And we're reorganizing, we're refocusing. But 2021 would be a great time for you to jump in. And we would obviously love to be able to partner with you on it. So check us out, go in deeper, find out a little bit more of what you could do to become an Invincible team, or maybe you want to be a guide or a consultant and partner with us as we would partner with you to help you learn how to unlock people at a higher level or to add this to your world. So thank you so much for the time. I know I have to go. Steve, if you want to answer that question, you're welcome to, but I know I need to run. So
yeah, okay. I'm. It's the end of the day here in England rather than the end. So leave it with me. So Matt, thanks for the question. That's great. How to unlock potential if they don't want to be unlocked or put the time in themselves? So I think the answer, Matt, is usually if they don't want to be unlocked, there's very little you can do. But what you can do is you can give them the opportunity. And often what I would do, Matt, is if I've got someone who's cynical, jaded, kind of feels they've done it all before, and it didn't work before, why would this make any difference? What I'll often do is I'll often talk about my own personal breakthrough. I'll talk about what I've learned. So I do what I call boasting my weakness. I go, do you know, I found this is what I've been doing. This is what I've been learning. This is where I've been growing. I actually think this is a really great opportunity. Would you be interested? Now, if they say no, then the answer for me would be, well, hey, I'm going to ask them again. So are you telling me that you feel you've reached the ceiling of your potential? That basically you've grown everything you're going to grow, and you're going to ride on out from now on, trading on the skills and knowledge and expertise you already have? So that's a direct question, because I'm bringing more challenge, having tried to call them up. Now what I'm saying is to go, help me understand that. What's behind that statement? Because for somebody to actually look at you in the eye as a team leader and go, I'm done, I've learned everything I'm going to learn, I'm going to coast my way to the end, I would say to them, I go, I think that's a really dangerous mindset, because in the end, the world we are living in now is going to require us to be learning as ongoing. We don't get to stop learning, because if we do, we will get overtaken, we will get replaced. So I think in the end, if somebody is like that, you have to decide whether in the end, are their skills valuable enough? But if they're leading other people, they are actually making the culture unhealthy. And probably I will give them up, and I'll call them up and go, in the end, look, that's not a mindset we can have in our team, in our culture. So either growth is going to happen and I'm going to be with you in it, or we're probably going to be having a conversation in 6 months to a year's time where it may be time for you to move on, because I can't afford that to be the mindset of our culture. So Matt, I hope that's helpful. If there's any other questions out there, or you want a free giant account, then there we go. That's what's there. But find us. You can always find Jeremy and I on social media as well.